Basically, we thought that this guy was, some innocent old guy, and basically what it turns out is he's just been a career scammer his entire life. So, yeah, never ending.
Oh, Lord. Luke, I don't want to slaughter your name, so
It's Deutschlander.
Deutschlander.
Yep, like German. Yes, sir.
Let me get that Deutschlander on that. Let me get that Deutschlander. I need 2 Deutschlanders. Sounds like a payment plan or something.
Right? Or you can call me Deutsch or just Lander. A lot of people call me Lander. It's a lot easier to
Lander.
say.
I
Yeah.
like Deutsch.
All right.
Is that cool?
Deutsch it is. Luke Deutsch.
Okay. Can you hear me pretty good? I got this new mic and I'm testing it out tonight.
Yeah, it's perfect.
All right, cool. Round up. What's going down? Good evening to you. Good evening to you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. I am Chris Haskins. I will be your co-pilot tonight, hanging out with my boy Luke Deutsch. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Luke is a real estate investor. Where you at, Luke?
I am in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Oh man, Wisconsin. I was in Minnesota for 3 years.
Really? So we're close then.
Minnesota, my bad.
Yeah, no kidding.
I came over there to get my fireworks. You guys got the bomb fireworks.
We do got some good fireworks.
Wisconsin. So Luke reached out. He was like, I'm going through this thing. And I was like, you know what, man? Maybe this might be something that the Roundup family would benefit from. And my mission, I'm Chris Haskins, and my mission is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. So Luke has I haven't heard the story, but it's kind of like as you get older, you can kind of sense the spirit and the frequency that people are giving off. And I kind of felt like Luke had a good frequency. So I think what he's going to share tonight is going to be good. I have no idea what he's going to say. I really don't. Luke, give us your background on, well, really the training for tonight was to show you some of the good and the bad about real estate. And Luke was saying, Chris, I got a story that might be able to benefit your followers and your supporters doing real estate, because it doesn't always go good. Doesn't always go good. Luke, give us a little background on you, and then we'll get into the story.
All right. So my name is Luke Deutschlander. I'm 28 years old. I'm basically a serial entrepreneur. I've had a couple different businesses. One of my main businesses was buying and reselling smartphones and electronics. I scaled that up to around $30,000 to $40,000 a month, and then came out with an online course, started teaching students around the US and in Canada as well, basically teaching people how to buy and resell smartphones and start online businesses. So I did that for a while. I still do that on and off. I still have my regular customers that bring me phones and electronics. We'd buy iPads, smartphones, cracked, used, locked, broken, pretty much any condition. Pretty big industry. If you look into it, it's an amazing industry where every day, even myself, it's just like you learn more and more and more. It's like there's so many levels to it. And so that's one of the main things that I did. But then what I did with all that income that I would make from that, I pretty much started investing it in real estate. Mm-hmm. And real estate has been I just love real estate. I love the deal. I love the art of the deal. I love the instant kind of like gratification you get when you paint a wall. You walk into a place and it's just an absolute disaster, and you come out 8 hours later and it's just a fresh coat of paint. It looks like a whole new place.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So that's kind of, my background is just consulting, marketing, flipping and selling phones, flipping other stuff, done all kinds of stuff, and then pretty much investing that into real estate, and then flipping, selling, renting real estate. And yeah.
So for my rounduppers, did you do phone accessories too, Luke?
So I would sell like cases and stuff like that and chargers and stuff, but I wasn't big in the accessory game. Mostly just basically what the business model was. It's kind of a cool business model. It's a really great full-time or side-time hustle, but basically we'd post ads on Craigslist, Facebook, and just basically saying that we pay cash for smartphones and electronics. And we'd basically act as a mobile pawn shop. People would then reach out to me. They'd be like, hey, I have an iPhone 8 Plus with a cracked screen. I'd offer them $75. Well, you look on eBay, they're selling for $200. That's a quick, $150 easy, no problem after fees. So That's kind of how it was. It's pretty cool.
Oh, it is cool. That is cool. I just love, I am a fan of the entrepreneur. How you create value out of nothing.
Yeah.
You're literally going out, creating, you're scraping well, my mentor used to say, shaking the trees, seeing what's out there, what value you can create, and then trying to create additional value out of whatever products that you can find. I love it, Luke, man. Good for you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
So round up, as we get into the story, I want to make sure I let everybody know that you can still register for the YouTube and internet marketing workshop. It will be this Saturday. The registration is still on. You can register in the video description below. I'm going to show you how to get paid on YouTube, how to grow a channel, and how to create some massive income if you want on the internet. Because I feel that the internet is going to be here to stay, and especially mobile. As I watch my daughters get up and get on the phone in the morning, this stuff ain't going nowhere. So get registered up on that if you want to learn how to grow your YouTube channel. I will tell you, I've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars through my YouTube channel, and it has helped my real estate business tremendously. So it's not just for the internet, it's for real estate too. So Luke, that video is in the description, y'all. Tell us, give us a backstory on this deal that where your seller went insane. I'm so excited to hear this story, dog.
Oh, man, and so I'm just gonna say this when because I'm gonna probably get a little emotional here in front of everyone. So above all, know that I actually really care about this seller. I really do. And here's the story. So it all started out with basically about 2 years ago. This gentleman, I'm just gonna refer to him as, I don't know, we'll just call him Joe because I don't want to use his real name. Because he's as you'll learn more about Joe. Joe likes to sue, even though he usually has no basis and doesn't actually get to sue because no lawyer will take his case. But we'll just call him Joe. Joe calls me and he has a problem with the person living in the home that he's got under contract, or I have under contract with him. Mm-hmm. And Joe basically says, I've got a big problem over here. I've got this horrible tenant that won't leave. And, just telling me all these problems. And the guy didn't run heat in the building all winter here in Wisconsin. If you don't run heat in the building, you're going to get mold on all your window sills, mold on your door sills, just a lot of bad stuff. Or, it's going to require a lot of repair, maintenance time. And so that was going on. The guy had a bunch of junk in the garage as well, just kind of trashed his property. So he was really upset. And the guy brought me over and I kind of gave him, a roundabout price on what it would cost for me to help. Basically,
this is a buy call, right? This is a lead that wants you to buy.
Yeah. Yes. He didn't really want me to buy. He was more looking for help to like clean the property up and kind of what to do. He wasn't really trying to sell at the point, but this was 2 years ago. So gotcha. Today it's August 2021. This is probably 2019. He's talking to me. So I go over there. I met him initially. He's a really nice guy. At least he seemed like a nice guy. I looked at it and it's like, yeah, this place is trash. All the windows have mold in them and they're nice, like double hung oak windows. So, I mean, unfortunately, since they're not vinyl, they are susceptible to that weather. And because this tenant didn't heat the place all winter, I mean, there's literally just like black mold all through the sills. I mean, this happens. There's black mold in the corner. I'm looking up right now where we painted, and just crazy.
You got any pictures, Lou?
I'd have to dig them up. I just got a new computer, so all my files are on a flash drive. But
oh man,
okay. I wish I did handy. But I mean, it was bad. Just picture dark and gloomy, and all the carpet was ripped up because they had pets. Weren't supposed to have pets. It was smoked in, so it kind of gives you guys an idea how this property was. And then the guy Joe is in his 70s, so he's not very able. You got a sharp head on him. He talks about wanting to fix the property, talks about evicting it, but doesn't really have the energy or more or less the drive anymore, I think, to actually be assertive enough to get rid of the person and fix this thing up. Yeah. So 2 years go by. Okay, guys, 2 years. And then all of a sudden,
you stay in touch with them, or you stay in touch? You call them?
Yeah, I did. And what it was is when I initially went out to the property, guys, 2 years ago, I liked the guy. He reminded me of my grandfather. My grandfather passed away a few years ago, and I kind of took a liking to the guy, and I felt bad that he wasn't rich by any means, and I just kind of felt bad that this tenant was like kind of taking advantage of him, and basically, just kind of felt bad for him. So just as somebody, I didn't bother him every day. He wasn't like my best friend, but every once in a while when I would drive by that road or that area, I'd just text him and be like, hey, you're around? If he was around, I would stop in and I'd talk to him. I'd just visit, see how things are going, see if he made any progress. So I kind of got to know this guy. I kind of know what he wants. He's got, I don't know, supposedly a girlfriend overseas, and he goes there sometimes. Just kind of an interesting old guy. And good to talk to, good spirited guy. And so then all of a sudden, about it must have been 2 months ago, because it was July, we signed the purchase contract on July 30th. I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday.
Tell me about that conversation, Luke, leading up to it. How do we get from just staying in touch with him to
Absolutely.
signing paperwork?
So what happened is about a week before July 30th, maybe a week or two, maybe it was probably actually like 2 weeks. I randomly was driving by, saw that his car was home. So I just pulled in, wanted to see how he's doing, because one thing that he would do is he'd talk to me for a while, and then all of a sudden he'd go on these like spurts where like 1 month he just wouldn't reply, wouldn't say anything. And I kind of got worried because, like I said, he kind of became almost a friend of mine, because he's in his 70s. He's kind of like a grandfather figure, just somebody where like, if you got nothing to do that day, like you want to go talk to Grandpappy. Okay. And so, and he's just typical old man, likes to talk about young women, just funny stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Let him talk. And I stopped by and I asked him, hey, how's it going? And he told me that he finally got rid of the tenant, and then he kind of actually took me inside the house again. But unfortunately, nothing got fixed up. Everything was actually probably worse than what I had seen it 2 years ago, because there'd been no repair done at all. It just kind of stayed, so the mold multiplied and all that good stuff. And he told me that he basically didn't have a car anymore, because he had a car that was paid for in full, but for some reason didn't have any insurance on it, totaled the car. So he got no car. He's using a friend's car, just kind of basically by being negligent, put himself in a really bad spot. Mm-hmm. So we got to talking or whatever about everything. And I said, well, hey, I still like the house and everything. And, it's a little bit outside of town. And I'm like, I'd really like to buy this place. And he's like, okay, Luke, I'll think about it and stuff and that. And then it was either me or him. He reached out the next day or two and said, I want you to come over and we talk more serious. And we talked more serious. Long story short, after that, we kind of had a deal kind of verbally. And then I wanted to bring my uncle by, who's a real estate guru. Basically, he started from a town with like 1,000 people in it, Cornell, Wisconsin. And he got himself up to, at one time in his peak, he managed and owned over 700 units here in the Oak area.
Wow, that's cool.
So he's pretty big guy, smart too. Obviously, he had to do some hustling, being, making it from absolutely nothing. And my grandpa and grandma on his side, they were not rich. My grandfather was a factory worker. And then I believe actually his wife, my grandma, was a stay-at-home mom. So my uncle's parents were not rich by any means. And he just hustled his way up, just working really long days. So I brought him by. And when I brought him by and he looked at everything and he said, the price, because I kind of ran the offer by my uncle. He says, it's not a steal, but he said, since it's what you want, I think it's a very fair price. And I think it's a very fair offer to him as well, both ends. And so we went over there. I made him the offer. And then he said, I got to think about it some more. So at this time, we're like 4 visits deep into talking to this guy about buying it, plus the 2 years of talking to him back and forth, just kind of as a friend. Finally, he schedules another thing, says to show up at 2:00. I show up and we talk for like 2 hours this time. And then again, he says, well, I think my heart's kind of in the right place and I think I'm going to sell it, but I got to think about it again. So this time I go home. I don't text him at all. Don't bother him. He calls me 3 days later, says, come over again. So I come over. We talk for like an hour. He looks at the whole deal again. And basically he said, you come back tomorrow and bring me the down payment, like the earnest money or whatever I was giving him, and the contract. And he said, I'll do it. So I showed up the next day, and the offer, by the way, I guess I suppose I could probably put that out there. I think the offer is really fair. The offer, basically, I don't think I need to necessarily say the purchase price, but the uniqueness of this offer, guys, which I was trying to look out for him because he's 70 years old. He had this whole idea in his head that him at 70 years old was going to move all his stuff, because it's like a kind of a multi-unit home. It's a duplex. He was going to move from one unit, move all of his stuff over into the junky unit that needed all of this work, all new flooring, mold removal, window replacement, door replacement. and then quickly try and rent out the unit that's still good that he was living in, and then him sit and live and breathe in this black mold and live over here and slowly fix it on his budget, which he's got no money at all.
So it's a duplex? I don't remember.
Yeah, yep, it is.
Okay, all right.
So it is a duplex. And so the uniqueness of it is, I said, you know what, with on top of the offer that I gave him, which is a fair purchase price offer, I said, look, I will do an early occupancy agreement with you, and I will fix all of the stuff up on the other side of the unit up until when I move in and until closing. You know, I'm going to fix it up as fast as I can so I can move in, and then I'll keep making repairs and renovations and doing maintenance around the property, 100% cost free to you. And then I also said out of contingency, I said, you, as part of the purchase price, I said, because it, you know, it wasn't necessarily full market value, but it was maybe like, say, 20K under. I said, I will let you live in the unit that you live in right now for the next 2 years for no rent at all. All you have to do is pay your utilities. Right.
Dude, I need you to come. Can you come on here and sell me something so I can do that?
Right. So that's why he signed, because it was a good deal. I mean, there was brush and bushes 6 feet tall all the way around the house.
I wish I could see it.
The central air units were just like covered in mold and moss. And so I took care of all that. As soon as he signed that purchase agreement, guys, I was here with a mower. I hired 5 different contractors. We had this whole place fixed up in a week. I mean, we banged it out fast. I mean, we worked hard. I was here organizing, getting materials, supervising stuff. I hired.
You were doing this before you purchased it or after?
This is before. We haven't actually officially closed on it. We have it under contract, but we haven't officially closed on it yet.
So what you doing repairs before you bought it, Luke?
So because we've got the early occupancy, I knew that if we did a bank appraisal, there's no way that unit was going to appraise out. But on top of that, I have an early occupancy, and the whole point of the early occupancy was for me to move in before closing.
So let me help my round-uppers understand, or maybe you can. They may not know what an early occupancy addendum is, Luke. Explain that to them.
Yeah. So what an early occupancy, guys, is there's 2 parts of it. I'll explain the first part, which is probably the most important side if you're the buyer. The second part is most important if you're the seller. So the first part of the early occupancy is basically it's a simple 1 or 2 page document that basically lists the buyer's name, the seller's name, the address, and it gives me permission before closing, as long as we have a signed contract and there isn't like a financing contingency, or, you know, my finances are rocky, we don't know if we're going to get it or not. If we for sure know we're going to get it, you sign an early occupancy so that you can move into the property if you're kind of in between houses before you actually close on it. And in this early occupancy agreement that I have with this guy, it specifically states in there that we are going to repair, maintain, or make better to the property before closing, and that we have the right to do that and actually go live and occupy the unit. I'm in the unit right now.
Okay.
So this is part of the unit. It's all been fixed up now, new carpet, all that. And the second part of the early occupancy, guys, is the seller's part, and this is more beneficial to the seller. It really doesn't have a huge effect on the buyer, but I also, just out of, like I said, looking out for this guy, because I actually do care about him, even though he for some reason doesn't think so right now. It's called a hold harmless agreement. And what that is it's seller's protection, so that if I'm on the property, say I'm outside mowing the grass and I trip over a hole and I break my ankle or something, I can't sue the seller while I'm early occupying the property. So I printed that out as well and had him sign that out for his own benefit. It doesn't really do a whole lot for me, but it's more for him.
Gotcha. Okay. So round up. So this is very common, especially among owner occupants. I've done it in the past. I don't like to do it being a seller, because people can move in and tear it up and then say, I don't want to buy it no more. But Luke isn't going to do that to his buyer. It can happen, but you have all the documents. So people, they say they're going to buy it, then they have to move from their current house, and things happen when you're dealing with owner occupants, right? Because they can't just move and shake like investors can. All right, let me reintroduce you, Luke, while we're here. Roundup, thank you for joining us tonight. We're dealing with Luke Deutsch. He's out there in Wisconsin. He is giving us a story about one of his deals that he's doing now, and his homeowner actually went insane, as he likes to say. So, Luke, thanks for joining us, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Absolutely.
So I want you to just kind of stay here for a few seconds because I've got you going back and forth with that seller. I did a negotiating tip, actually, in the Real Estate Negotiating Bible, the book that I wrote. One of the tips is sellers can act, think, and feel any way they want to. Tell me what was going over your and through your mind throughout those 2 years, because a lot of my new investors are like, I want them to do this. I want to sign up. They said they're going to do this. They didn't do it. Tell me about your mind and give us a tip for other investors that can help deal with that mental capacity.
So my number one tip is, as far as, and I would say this is probably one of my talents, is any business I've been involved in, whether it's actually working as an employee for someone or myself or a family member or a partner, my best trait, I think, is getting the deal done or getting it signed or closing, a high dollar bid on a project or whatever. And the biggest thing I can say is be a chameleon. If you're around a bunch of people with suit and ties, then you better drink your tea with your pinky up and you better not cuss. If you're in the ghetto trying to buy a phone from a group of brothers, you better be like, hey, yo, what up, man? You better completely change your whole persona based on who you're around. And it's not to necessarily be a fake person or anything like that. People get the wrong idea. It's blend in with who you are with, blend in with that social stigma that you're with. And so when this guy didn't really want to sell for 2 years, yeah, I really wanted the property, but the business mindset of me said, that's fine. Just play hard to get. Like, you're some hot piece of tail. I didn't even bring up talking about selling the property, because when I asked about it once, he didn't know. So I said, that's fine. I know if he's not going to sell it to me because this guy likes me and we're kind of friends, he's not going to sell it to anyone else. So I didn't need to worry about some overly aggressive person coming in trying to get him to sell, because it's not going to happen. He's not going to sign a contract. So I kind of just sat back and didn't really do a whole lot. Just kind of let him come to me, or kind of hope that we would meet up eventually and then bring it up again. But I probably brought up buying it maybe once a year, twice a year, until this recent time when we actually went and met up. I was scrolling through my phone, by the way. I do have some pictures I could probably hold up to the camera.
Let's see it, Luke.
All right. So this is probably one of the worst photos, I would say.
Let's screen in. I'll zoom in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So this photo is of the outside deck. And what this is you'll just see that basically the whole deck is covered in mold. It needs to be either pressure washed and needs to be pressure washed and stained. But all of these spindles on the deck were rotten. And then you'll see that there's this tree growing through it. Mm-hmm. This is one of them. So you guys can see that pretty good, actually.
Is that in the rear? Is that in the rear?
Yeah, yep, that's in the rear of the property. And it's just why would you let it go like that? So that was one of the photos, and I'm kind of talking and scrolling here, but I do got a couple more photos of this. I just forgot that I still had them on my phone.
That's cool, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. But I kind of wanted to show everyone that, it's definitely one of those properties where it's it needed some serious attention, Mm-hmm. This is the bottom of the doors, and they're just covered in black mold and nastiness. And when we ripped out these doors, guys, the rot was so bad that not only was the whole door bad, but it was actually rotted up to the joist on the house. So we actually had to go in. I had to have my contractor cut out all the wood, replace it. This is the bottom of the doors. I know it's kind of hard to focus on, but you can see that's supposed to be nice oak. Yeah, it's bad. You can see the oak door behind me, that's how it's supposed to look. So just a lot of stuff like that, I mean, just absolutely just basically let go. It was to the point where if it would have went another year, this is the window. I don't know if that's a dead mouse in there or what, but yeah, it was pretty bad too. All the windows look like that. So they're just
that's nice woodwork there, brother. Nice woodwork.
Yeah, it was at one time. So
that's terrible, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're fast forwarding. Unless you got some more pictures you want to show.
I got one more picture. This is when the actual door came out. You guys see how that's completely rotted out there? There you go. Now it's focusing.
Oh yeah, under the threshold there.
Yeah, just completely rotted out. Yeah, it was just mush. You could take your finger and poke right through it because it was just gone.
That's terrible. What was the story? Did he just Family, no
Well,
family gone. Why would he let it go down? And he had no income, social
well,
security.
again, yeah, I don't think he had the financial means or necessarily the drive to actually get it done. But again, remember, he lives in one side, and then he let the other side go. And this tenant that he had that was bad for about 8 months basically didn't heat that side because they're united separately. They both have separate electrical units. So the one guy didn't pay for any heat for this unit where all this damage was. And
Gotcha.
then when this guy finally obviously got in here, he was just like, what do I do with this? Just over his head.
Over his head, yeah.
And financially too, probably as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're signing that you're there, and I wanted to stay there for a minute just because a lot of people.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the deal.
Chris, how do I get sellers to sign the paperwork? How do I do? You can't do it. You can't get nobody to sign any paperwork until they're ready. You cannot make anybody sign unless you put a gun to their head, and that ain't gonna end up good for anybody.
No.
So Luke, you did the right thing. You played chameleon. You didn't over communicate with the seller because they don't like that either. They don't like it when you call them all the time. Hey, I just talked to you last month. I know. So, Luke, you played that perfectly, man. Kudos to you on that one, my friend. I love it.
Thanks, Chris.
So you got the paperwork where you fast forward here. You're ready to sign the paperwork. Everybody's happy. You're sitting down. He likes you. He likes the numbers. Boom.
Yeah, so we're sitting down. I'm in his unit, just sitting in his living room. He looks at the contracts, reads them. And the one thing he wanted part of the deal on top of the purchase price of the bank is he wanted $20,000 cash. And I kind of frowned on that because I said, look, I know people do that all the time. Obviously, people don't talk about it. But I said, I don't know you well enough to, just give you $20,000 cash before closing because you could easily just walk away or pull something like he's pulling now. And then I'm out that whole money while, even if I sue for a specific performance when we get the property, I don't want to be out 20 grand while I wait a couple months for all that to go through. And so what I ended up.
You didn't think that you were really going to do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess he did. I guess so.
Why need $20,000? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I guess he wanted to go overseas and see that girlfriend he's been talking about.
He'd be gone.
He'll be gone, and then I'll be sitting here with nothing.
Hey, what are we doing? Hey.
Yeah, no kidding. Send me a letter. But so we're there sitting down and everything. Everything is going great. And then he looks at the purchase contract, looks at the early occupancy, the hold harmless, the extra contingencies that I'd promised him where he can live there for 2 years. He looks at it and says, "Yeah, I feel good about this." He signs everything where he's supposed to. I signed off, dated it in his house, and then I gave him, instead of giving him the cash, what I did is I said, I know you're not going to have any chance of getting rent money for this. So I said, I will give you a $5,000 certified, not cash, but a certified check towards early occupancy. That's going to be basically this $20,000 plus the actual purchase price. I said, this $5,000 will come off of that 20 because I can't give you cash, so I got to find a way to structure this. So I'll write it off like this. And he said, okay, that's fine. And I knew he needed money, so I'm like, well, if I give the guy $5,000, at least hopefully that'll help him catch up on some bills and be able to live, and not suffer till we get to closing. So I did all that, and everything's great. So everything's fine. Fast forward, it's literally July 30th, the same day that we signed the deal. I go home. I let my girlfriend know about it. She starts packing. My whole house is basically packed overnight. Besides all the big stuff, we went pretty wild with it. And then by next day, I basically had contractors hired. I had both decks pressure washed. I had all of the shrubbery and the grass cleaned up. I had an electrician go in to that unit. I fixed everything. I had other contractors go in, rip out all the carpet, new flooring, spruced up the cabinets, 2 new bathroom shower doors, 2 new bathroom fans, 2 new exterior doors, fixed everything. So we could move in that week. I mean, we went, when I get a property, we move really quick. I've kind of got a team that I work with where, I call them and say, hey, I got another one. We got to get this done. So
what made you be so gracious and generous to give him this money, Luke? I feel like I ain't gonna do all that.
Well, and what's funny is that's what he said is he's just like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing all this? And I said, one, I like you, Joe. We'll call him Joe. But I said too, I really like the property, and this isn't just an investment property. I'm going to live here. I like this. Yeah, I'm living here. This is the unit right now. As you can see, all my stuff is in here. So I'm here. We're early occupying the unit live right now on the YouTube channel. So it's no BS. And that's what I told him. I said, I love the place. I really like it. My girlfriend likes it. Where we were living before, we were right in town, super busy road. So we couldn't, she wants to get a dog and stuff, and I'm not home a ton, but that's something she wants. So I'm like, well, if we get this place, she can do that. So it was more than just me. It was just kind of like it's what we wanted, or needed.
So the next day you're cleaning it all up. Everybody's happy. He's got his little piece of change, and we're moving forward.
Yeah, we're moving forward. And then a day or two goes by, and basically, I don't know if it was just too much change too fast for him, or it was too many vehicles in the driveway. There was one day there was like 8 vehicles out here because there's an electrician, there's 2 contractors, there's another worker, and they're all people that I hired, because me and my girlfriend had some money saved up, and just basically trying to get this thing done because our house is basically all packed up. And we're ready to move over as soon as this place is done, or at least the bedrooms are done. This is one of the bedrooms for my office area, and everything basically is moving on track. We're about halfway done. The exterior is done. All the grass, shrubbery's mowed. The deck's pressure washed, but they're still working on the inside. And basically what happened is I think the thing that really tipped him over is the electrician was there and all these other vehicles. And he came home. He came home or whatever, and he just saw everybody there. And I don't know if he was in a bad mood or what. I know he did say that a girlfriend of his, like an older lady, was in the hospital, so maybe he's a little on edge. But he gets out, guys, and I guess I got to ask you first. I personally, I don't cuss a lot, but I was going to ask you, can we cuss on the channel or no?
You can, yeah. I would if it makes a story, or you could use the first initial.
Well, I want to quote it word for word what he did. So
go ahead, that's fine.
He gets out, guys, and
he's pulling up. Everybody's there. He's pulling up.
He's pulling up, and he just gets out, and he just looks like he's just got the crazy eyes. Like, you ever met anybody in high school or college or just anyone or someone at the bar where they just like look at you and they're just like, he's just got the crazy eyes, and he just looks at me and he's like, when the is this gonna all stop? Blah 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 blah, and just like, when the fuck is this all gonna stop? Get the fuck off of my property! And I'm like, Joe, remember,
you're there.
Yeah, I'm there. He's there screaming at me, and I'm like, Joe, what's your problem? We have a signed contract. You knew that we were gonna fix this up fast, move in, and he's just like freaking out and absolutely going crazy. And then I'm just like, what's your problem? He's like, you're my freaking problem. I told you to get off my freaking property. And then he looks at me and he goes, if you're not off of my property, I'm going to call the cops on you and have you taken out of here. And I'm like, all right, Joe. I'm like, I mean, you can go ahead and call the cops, but I've got all the agreements right here. They're not going to do a thing. And then, he kind of cusses and gets mad. And me and the electrician start walking over to the unit that needs to be repaired. And, that's when he turns around and starts cussing at me again. And he goes, I told you to get the off of my property. And he charges at me. Okay, he charges at me. And I'm like, I'm a decent sized guy. Like, as you can see, like, I'm not like some small fry. Like, I could have obliterated and leveled this guy. But he's 70 years old. And like I said, I do care about him. So I wasn't going to obviously just cold clock him and then watch him fall on the ground. But he charges, get the F off my property, runs at me, guys. And then pushes me. I mean, he literally grabs me by my shirt and like tries to shove me. I don't budge an inch, but he tried. And then he continues to yell like right in my face. Like, he's literally like right here, he's just yelling in my face. And I'm just like totally cool because I knew obviously smarter than that. Like I said, being a chameleon, I'm not going to react to this because if the cops came and I did slug this guy my size and his age, it just wouldn't have been good. So
no, it wouldn't have been good.
I let him yell at me, and I'm like, whatever. The electrician's standing behind me. I've never met this electrician before, and he's like,
damn, you get your ass hung to you.
What? Yeah. And so then he keeps cussing at me. He walks back up into his property after he keeps swearing and whatever, telling me to get the F off of his property.
Hold up, before he leaves, Joe. I'm sorry, before he leaves, Luke, y'all didn't have any type of Hey man, why are you doing this? We got the paperwork. I gave you the money. What's good? What's the deal?
Yeah. Well, he kind of screamed at me or whatever, and I just said, "What's your problem?" He goes, "You're my problem," and he just says, "I don't want to sell anymore. I changed my mind or something."
Oh my
And,
lord!
and so then he walks up into his unit. I'm still standing on the other side. So picture this, guys. We're like side by side. The fingers of the side by side unit. He walks back up, and then all of a sudden, me and my electrician are standing here talking. He's just like, "That guy's insane." And I'm like, I've never seen him do that before. He comes back out of his unit swearing at me, and then there's like a little porch. He grabs his key cluster. He's got like this nice solid key cluster, bunch of keys chucks it at me, hits me in the face or the chest or wherever they hit me, throws them right at me, and then charges down his stairs again and says, "Get the F off of my property," and shoves me again. Yeah, just insane.
Oh
And
my
I'm just like,
lord!
I'm totally cool the whole time. I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm
you gotta
like,
play it cool.
really? I'm like,
You gotta play it
really,
cool.
Joe? Really, man? Really?
You gotta play it cool. If you lose your cool, then the cops and all that stuff.
Yeah. And so basically, then the dude goes and gets in his car and takes off. I turn around, look at the electrician. I'm like, I promise you, this never happens. And my places that you got to work on that I've bought before or moved into, it's not like this. And he's just laughing. He's like, no worries, man. He's like, I actually got the whole thing on video. I'm like, really? I'm like, great. So
Good. You're like trying to say, I'm a good guy. I promise you, I'm not taking advantage of old men. You know, because that's what I would think, that you're taking advantage of this guy, Luke.
Right. And that's the thing, is that's why he signed guys, because the deal was not only a fair deal, it was a really good deal for him, and also a good deal in the aspect that I'm going to do all the maintenance on the property, so he doesn't have to worry anything as he grows older in old age and can actually enjoy his retirement or whatever he's got left in this world.
That's pretty cool. All right, so you got that. So screaming. Okay, know where we at now.
Yeah. So we continue moving on with the property. Basically, I did make a quick phone call to the police, and I let them know what happened, because in my experience, it's best to call first rather than someone else call and lie. So I called first, told them exactly what happened. And
But
so
this is a civil thing, though. The cops probably, I don't even think they would get involved.
Well, they didn't want to see, and that's what I tried to tell them. I said, you can go ahead and call the cops, but I said, I got legal rights to this property. I have an interest in this property as well, and they're not going to do anything. But when he attacked me, shoved me, threw his keys at me, and then was cussing, when the cops heard about what happened with that, they were actually going to arrest him for assault or some type of domestic battery or whatever it would have been, but they were going to charge him. And so what happened then is I was so stressed out over this thing, I actually went back home. I went to sleep. I went to sleep from about noon after I talked to the cops, and I woke up at 3:30. And when I got off the phone with the cops, pre-nap, guys, this is pre-nap, they said, we're going to look for him. They took his name, his number from me, and said, we're going to find him. We're going to talk to him. And we're probably going to charge him, because they spoke to the electrician too that got it on video.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what happened is the big heart in me, what happened is I went home, I was all stressed out, and I slept on it. I didn't say anything. I could have called him and said what you did was wrong. I could have texted him. Again, being a chameleon, I said nothing. 3:30 comes around. I wake up, and look, it's Joe. Joe's calling my phone. And I wake up, and there it is. He's calling my phone, and I answer it, and he starts off, he's totally normal. He's not being insane, not being crazy mad. He just goes, hello, Luke. And I said, well, hi, Joe. And he goes, did I bruise your shoulder? And I'm just like in my head, like, this guy didn't even move me. I'm like, yeah, you got a hard push for an old man. I'm just kind of joking with him, whatever. So that's how the conversation starts out. And he basically says, Luke, I'm really sorry for what I did. I apologize 1,000 times over. I have no idea why I did that. I just am being emotional. I'm sorry. And he said, I'm here with a lady friend of mine, and she's on your side. She said, we've got a signed contract, which we do. And I talked to her for a little bit. She said, Luke, I think what you're doing is good. I think it's a good deal for Joe. And I think he should just stand out of your way, because you have a legal document. He gets back on the phone and says, she's right, and says, I'm really sorry for what I did, Luke. From now on, I will stay out of your way and let you to continue improving the property, and I'll let the deal go through without making a fit. And then that was it.
That's good.
And he said, do I need to do anything else for you at this time? And I said, no, I think we're good. And I said, I accept your apology. After I got off the phone, I did tell him that the cops were called about what happened and that he got a little nervous on that. And I said, I appreciate the apology. Genuinely, I really do. And I said, you didn't really hurt me necessarily, but I said, you did hurt my feelings, and you kind of showed me that you weren't somebody that I thought you were. And so I called the cops after I got off the phone with them. And I said, look, I know you guys can charge him regardless of what I say, but I said, from the bottom of my heart, I said, would you please not charge the guy with assault or whatever you were going to charge him with for this altercation? And I said, would you just talk to him and give him a firm talk and let him know that this contract is the real deal and that you can't be doing stuff like that? And the officer said, basically, he said, well, we could charge him whether we wanted to or not. But he said, I understand where you're coming from. And he said, at this point, he said, we will try reaching out to him, but we won't arrest him, and we will try to talk to him. And, I said, I really appreciate that, officer. So that was basically the gist of everything that happened. A couple days went by. The whole property's done. We're all moved in, basically.
Wow.
And
that's
unfortunately, though, we have not closed on the property yet. And the guy is still kind of going back and forth on, I don't know if I want to sell.
Oh, my God. So let me bring everybody up to speed. Round up, if you're just joining us, we're here with Luke Deutsch out in Wisconsin. He has a house under contract to buy. He moved in early. The seller agreed to all the terms. The day after he moves in, the seller goes crazy on him, throws keys at him. Luke, I just want to know, what are you thinking right now, man? Are you pissed at the guy? Are you saying, he's old, he's emotional? Where are you at?
Well, I'm not angry at him. Just
$5,000 is a lot of money. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm like,
I'm not like mad, but I guess I'm more like disappointed, because like, obviously, I'm mad, but I'm not like, I'm mad like I want to get even with the guy or like screw him. I'm more like, I thought that I was doing this guy a big favor, and now he's kind of almost trying to like make me out to be the bad guy. And I pretty much saved his whole day, and then also gave him some money from now before we close. And
before you close,
right? Yeah, because he got that early occupancy money. So I figured, guys, we wrote the contract on July 30th. The closing on the contract is on November 1st, on or before. So I'm like, man, if I give this guy the $5,000 out of that 20 up front, it's like, man, like this should really help this guy out. And that's why he signed, guys. The deal is a great deal. I'm not taking advantage of him by any means. He knows that. His friend knew that. The realtors involved knew that. We bounced the deal off a couple realtor friends of mine and my uncle, and they're all just like, if he doesn't take that deal, he's insane. And so that's why he signed, because it really is a good deal.
I'm like,
and so he's still back and forth. He's being mean. We got into a yelling match one day. He more yelled at me. I didn't really yell at him, but he was angry again. But it's been like 2 weeks now. I would say maybe not 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and he hasn't yelled or said anything.
Do you see him every day?
I see him like in passing. Like I'll wake up at 6, 7 in the morning. Sometimes I'll see him walk to his car. That's pretty much it. But he's not, all cheery and happy and nice to me like he was when he was taking my money, signing the deal, and then letting me renovate the property. So
what do you think's going on, Luke?
Well, and here's where it gets twisted, guys. And I see there's a lot of questions in the comments, Chris. I don't know if you want to answer some of them.
We'll get to some at the end of the story. Round up. Get your question. Yeah. Hold up. Luke, there's a story and then there's the truth. Right? I mean, usually they're close, they kind of align, but go ahead. I just want people to know that.
Well, yeah, and this is the part where it kind of makes me, I don't know, kind of like I said, it's disappointing and upsets me. So here's where it gets twisted. So long story short, I have a family member of mine. I'm not going to say names here just because, like I said, the guy is threatened to get a lawyer and try and sue me, as you'll hear earlier. Yeah, somehow. Here's the thing. When we get into this twisted part of the story, usually when he tries to sue people, there's no merit, no basis for the claim, so no lawyer will actually represent him. But so for that reason,
stuff though, it makes things go longer.
Right, exactly. So basically, what happened is it's in a small town. a family friend of mine basically knew this person's brother. Okay. The brother is about 10 years younger, very nice and mellow guy. And what happened, guys, is the family member basically informed my family member, gave him a big warning and said, "Hey, I heard that your so-and-so family member is buying a property from Joe. And I just got to tell you guys, you know, he's 70 some years old. He's got COPD. He's been in and out of the basically mental institutions here and there when he was younger. And he said, I gotta warn you, he's probably from what the family member said, and I'm just going off what they said. Said that he's manic bipolar, like bipolar schizophrenic." And he said, you know, he doesn't got nothing to lose besides this. And he said, don't be too cautious around him because he might just kill you. And he's made threats like that in the past. He's done some pretty crazy stuff. And so this person actually went to school with my family member growing up. So they were pretty close back in school, like buddies. So he's telling him out of this, just out of the goodness of his heart. There's no incentive for him to say anything. He's not trying to mess the deal up, but he's trying to tell my family member, who's very close to me, to tell me, so that basically, you know, hey, be cautious around this guy. And basically what he said is, this guy, his whole life, has been scamming people on deals like these. Not necessarily real estate, but just little stuff like, oh, well, could I get $1,000? Yeah, and I'll pay you back. And then he'd say, someone will show up to his property and ask for their money back, and he'll say, get the off of my property, or I'm going to call the cops on you. I don't own any money, or you got no proof of that. And so deep down, what I think happened here is, after he got the money and signed the contract and everything, and then I think his attempt, guys, to push, shove, and throw his keys at me. Like I said, I mean, I'm not the faint of the heart. My background with real estate and marketing goes way beyond that. I used to work in the oil field. I worked with some of the roughest, toughest people that you would ever meet. So I don't scare easy. And I think that was his way of, if I can shove this guy out, I can take this money and run. And when he realized that after he shoved me, that I didn't budge, I kept cool, and I'm just like, whatever, man.
Being like that.
That's when he kind of started freaking out. And basically what his family member said, his whole MO has always been, nobody gets a better deal than me. And so his family member said that he'll go through these phases where he feels like he's on top of the world, where he'll try and like sue people. He's tried to sue his own brother, from what his brother said. And basically just said that no lawyer would represent him back then because his case had no basis for it. And what I was told now is basically, he tried to call lawyers, basically seeing if he could sue me for early occupying the property. And basically, it's crazy, guys. And what was even more crazy is, I have a lawyer now, and then I called a couple different lawyers. His brother warned us about this tactic. It's actually really smart, but it's very scummy. It's in the gray area. It's smart, but I mean, very rogue, but smart. I give him credit, but it's nuts. What he does is, he'll go on Google and he'll try and call every lawyer in the area. And what he does, guys, by doing this is, if he calls every lawyer in the area, depending on how big your area is, before you do, if they take notes with his first, last name, and the property address, then when you call, that creates what's called a conflict of interest in lawyer terms. And now your lawyer that you wanted can't represent you because there's a conflict of interest before you sign a retainer agreement. And he actually got two lawyers, one which was a friend of mine, the second completely random, and tied both of them up, even though he has no money and no actual intention of hiring them. So basically, because he can't afford it, he then alienates the lawyer from both prospective parties. Mm-hmm. So absolutely crazy. Luckily, I went a little outside the box, and I actually did get a lawyer. The hilarious thing is, this lawyer got conflict of interest conflicted with him on another matter on an estate.
What?
So this lawyer is very excited to basically get to go back into the courtroom and take a swing at him. Good. So I found the perfect lawyer. But it's very, very crazy.
This is terrible, Luke. Round up, if you're just joining us, Luke is dealing with insane. You're right. That is insane. Luke, do you think you might have some issues regarding somebody having the right mental capacity when they're authorizing legal paperwork?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I kind of feel like he knew what I mean, he definitely knows what he's doing because he's all there. He's not forgetful, he's not forgetting. Like, he knows what he's doing. But like his family member said, he's a scammer.
Yeah.
Another example that I want to give quick, I think this will blow all you guys away. It blew me away. I've never heard of something so crazy. Like I said, it's crazy, but it's like it's sinister. Like, this is like Pablo Escobar style real estate investing. What this guy is doing, and so here's what he did. The other scam that his brother told me. Yeah, what Lexi Lou just said. He's a professional con artist, basically. What his brother told us. Okay, and like I said, he is his brother, so he knows him like the back of his hand. When their father passed away, he gave each one of them a parcel of land. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So get this, guys. While his father was in Europe, there was a house downtown Eau Claire that was for sale for $5,000. And his brother told us Joe bought this house and then had contractors hired. And contractors, guys, when you hire a contractor, they don't say, hey, are you the owner of the property? And if they do, he probably lied anyways. But most contractors don't say, hey, can you show proof of ownership before we work here?
They want their money.
Right. He hired contractors, guys, to dig out a basement on his father's property, poured the basement, had utilities hooked up, had a well and septic dug, bought this house for $5,000 cash, moved it onto his dad's land while his dad was in Europe, didn't tell his other brothers or sisters or whoever his family members were. When his dad gets back from Europe, there's a $50,000 lien being threatened from the contractors to take the whole property and the house that he just moved. So what do you think happens, guys? He calls his dad and he says, I really need a loan. I'm going to lose the place, blah, 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 blah. His dad says no repeatedly. This is all from his brother. And he says, finally he caves. He says, my dad calls Joe back up and he says, Joe, I'm going to give you a loan. And he wrote him a land contract at the average interest rate back then. And then professional con artist Joe decides to not pay on the land contract at all to his father. And he lived there for about 18 months for free until his dad evicted him. Mm-hmm. And then from there, guys, Joe got evicted, takes back, obviously, the house that's now on the property. His dad pays back the contractors, gets stuck with the whole bill. And the land was like 10 or 12 acres, so it was worth more than just losing it. And obviously, it has a house on it now, too. Get this, when his dad's starting to pass away and the estate's going on, he then tries to sue his father for the property, saying that he took it from him, even though he scammed his way to getting the whole house and built on the property. It wasn't even his land, did it behind his dad's back. His dad's old at this point, and I think, if I remember right, what the family member said is the dad just ended up willing it over to his son. I mean, so it's just messed up. So when I heard all that, guys, to go back to your question, Chris, now I am ticked. Now I don't like this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this property. Yeah. I got legal right, one, to do so. But if I got to go to court with a lawyer, I will do it because I'm not letting this guy scam me.
Now. Oh, I don't even think you're not taking anything. You just want to receive what is rightfully yours.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the bottom line. But more or less what I'm saying is if I have to get a lawyer and play tough, I will. I'm not going to let him take this from me because he's taken enough from everybody in this world. And he tried to basically, now when I heard from his brother that he is a scammer, basically he tried to take my $5,000 early occupancy check, bully me off the property, and then obviously he would have pocketed all of the improvements that I did on this property too if I would have let him back out. It's like, no way, man.
Yeah. Luke, I'm gonna get to Q&A. My last question. Are you got something at the courthouse where he can't? Because I'm thinking, what if Chris Haskins comes by and he tries to sell it to somebody else while you're in it?
Right.
You got a list pendants or something down there?
Yeah. So what I'm working on right now, my lawyer is not going to be back in the office till September 1st. As soon as he gets back in, I'm calling him. I did watch your video on that and a few other videos from people, and that's absolutely what I want to do. Is we've got to file an interest or a claim against the property so it shows up. Because I absolutely don't want him to do that. That's a big concern of mine. Just a 30-second rundown. One other thing that he did since I've been here, only 3 weeks. God. Someone showed up at the property, guys. Some Hawaiian guy didn't speak very good English, and he said, "Are you the property owner?" I'm like, "No," and I just kind of said, "How can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm looking for the property owner." I said, "Well, I'm I've got this place under contract, so I guess I'm kind of the property owner. He's like, no, not you. And I'm like, who are you looking for? And I'm like, are you looking for an older gentleman? He's like, oh yeah. And I said, well, what's going on? He said, oh, I'm supposed to rent this place. He took $1,800 cash from me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm living here. Like, this place isn't for rent. And so basically I talked to him, walk him through it, guys. And turns out he took $1,800 cash from this guy. And this is what the second episode was about, where he screamed at me again, is he got mad that he got busted. And when I saw him with this Hawaiian guy standing next to me, I said, Joe, you need to give this guy his money back. You know, I have an interest in this property. I don't want you taking people's money on this property. I don't need my doors kicked in or my vehicles cracked and dented because you owe someone $2,000 in cash.
Mm-hmm.
He actually did give him his money back, but boy, was he mad about it. He was furious.
He didn't want to give the money back.
Oh, absolutely not. You could just tell. He was going to make up some kind of excuse or whatever. And the saddest thing, guys, is these people don't speak very good English. And what really broke my heart, which is why I really want this property, on top of, yes, we want it. Yes, we have a signed deal. We have legal rights to it. But it's just that this guy, how many people has he screwed? I mean, these are only people that we know about. The family calls me later because I got their info, and he said, he goes, Luke, he's like, I don't know what to do. My family doesn't speak English good. And the problem is we give this guy $1,800 and we put in our lease cancellation. Our lease ended today, so we are homeless now. We are all moved out and packed up, and we can't come to our new home. I'm just like shaking my head. I'm like, this guy can't keep getting away with this. So I'm going to be the guy to stick it to this guy and hold to the contract.
Good. You got to spend a few dollars maybe, but make sure first thing you got to get your interest recorded at the courthouse so he didn't try to sell it to anybody else.
Absolutely.
Round up. Let's get to some Q&A, Luke. Thank you so much for reliving this nightmare.
Yeah, and that's it. I think that literally covers everything, guys. I'm in here now. I love the place. It's, it's a little out of town. It's great, but, I'm going to have to take him to court, I think, to actually close on this. And I found your videos, Chris, because I was looking for assurance. Like, he tells me there's a 3-day backout rule, which I now know is not true. And I'm like, and basically, even though I have somebody asked in the Q&A, like I've probably got $10,000 or more into this property rehab right now. So it's not just the money for me, though. But when I saw your video, Chris, because I actually got a question for you too, is if I take this thing to court, I don't want a lien on the property. I mean, I do, but I want the property. That is all I want. I don't want blood. I don't want any extra vigor towards him. I just want the property. I just want what we agreed to.
I hear you, man. You sound sincere, kind of like myself. I'm just sincere. I really, earnestly, sincerely, and solemnly want people just to do what they say they're going to do. And I don't think that's a big request for my fellow countrymen, right? It's like, just do what you say you're going to do, period. And you even paid. So at the end of the day, yeah, first you have to get that your interest recorded, man. It ain't going to be, it's not going to be fast, and it probably won't be cheap. But at this stage of the game for you, I would, even for me, when I do stuff like that, I'm like, the money, I'm not even thinking about the money. It's irrelevant to me. My thing is principle. You said you were going to do something, just do it. Just do it. So yeah, you can record that, but it's going to take some time. I've been, 8 months dealing with this because the courts are moving slow, and then they're doing web courts now. They have Zoom. The judge is actually coming on the Zoom now.
That's cool. Never thought I'd see that.
I recorded the whole thing, so I haven't released it yet, man. I'm just so emotional with that one that I'm dealing with. Trevor, hey, one of our members, what type of deal was this? Was this a traditional subject to lease option?
It's just a standard purchase agreement. So just, I don't know, I suppose each state has a little different, but it was just a standard offer to purchase with some contingencies for the seller, basically to benefit him. And that was pretty much it. I mean, it was a pretty simple deal as far as contracts, and then an early occupancy agreement.
You're a nice guy. Keon, he wanted to know, was that a subject to deal? Yeah, it was a regular deal. George, when being nice goes wrong. Right. I don't know if I would have given him no money, dog. Really, I would have been like, my camera says the new camera I got. Giving him money, obviously you're gonna do what you want to do, but I've lost so many thousands just like this. Just people just change their mind. John, I just lost a deal because the closing agent told the seller not to sell to me in a trust.
Hmm.
John, you got to get away from those people. You got to get away from them. I can't help you. I can't help you. If someone doesn't understand the truth, why does it matter how I take title to the property? That is sickening to me. Early occupancy. Tracy Little, I never knew about early occupancy. Yeah, that's a good one there, Luke. Tracy Little, I could tell I'm a psychotherapist. Tracy, I would like to, I'd like to get you on. Please email us at chris@chrishaskins.com. I want to get somebody on here for mental health because this is important. TB Williams, I'm having issues with an older person now. Seems no matter how much you give them, they want more. Black ink
Yes.
on white paper. He was hoping you were naive, Luke. This guy must be a distant relative of the person I'm dealing with. Might be a distant relative. Sell or rent. You and your girlfriend won't have the peace of mind you desire. That could be true. Tracy, tell me about your girl. Luke, tell me about your girlfriend and what she's thinking.
So honestly, my whole thing, because like I said, I mean, I worked in the oil field. I grew up, and I'm not gonna give you guys the whole 24-hour spiel on my life story. But long story short, I've been in the rough and tough. My mom tried hiring a hitman to kill my dad when I was like 6. It was all throughout school. I've been through crazy stuff. What he did on the scope of things, like just through other things that I've been through or had to get through and then accomplish or overcome.
That's low level.
He doesn't even bother me. He's just like a fly on my shoulder. What bothers me is that it's not in my name yet. That's the only thing that bothers me is like kind of like the unknown. And then when I saw
Question mark.
Right. When I saw your video that you can sue for a specific performance, like I said, I've never actually had this happen. So I didn't even know you could sue for that. Or more or less, basically, when I watched your video and a few others, they said, well, the judge, well, actually, usually if you want the property, like if you express to the judge you want the property, you don't just want your money back, they will usually award you the property. If they don't show up, well, then they'll appoint someone and they'll sign up. And that's all I want. So once we get the property, if he's being crazy, if it bothers me that much, I'll just call the cops. And if he goes to jail for like 3 months, sweet. Well, we'll party while he's gone. It doesn't really bother me, you know. I'm just bothered that the deal is kind of in limbo and I have this money sitting here. Plus, we had a lot of stuff. We were living at the old place for like 4 or 5 years. I didn't realize how much stuff we had until we had to put it all in boxes.
It's funny. It adds up quick, right?
Yeah.
Yo, Dragon Manifesto. Lexi. That's right. Concrete. Sacred concrete for bodies.
No kidding.
True scammer. Suave House. I usually not here, but this is good content. Well, thank you for joining us, Suave. Rid of bipolar. Tracy said your kind-hearted will be blessed, Luke. I agree with that.
Thanks, Tracy.
Ricardo says you might not want to sleep there or be protected as his hustle has been knocked. You sleep in there, Luke?
Yeah, we do reside here. I mean, we have early occupancy, and the other place is leased out, so we don't really. There's not really any place to go, but here.
That's cool. So, Nikita says Joe is too unstable, Luke. Your peace or the property. You might want to walk away. You got too much in it now. You in it.
Yeah, we can.
Luis, question. I have an LLC in California that's owned by Wyoming LLC. Oh, Lord. How much information should I share with my local escrow company? That's above my pay grade. Luke, you got anything on that?
I'm in the middle of a purchase in California. Luis, my advice would be if withholding information from them doesn't stop the deal from going through, I wouldn't drop that on them until you're at the closing table, and maybe they just got to go back and change the name on it. If it doesn't change any aspect of the deal, any aspect of the financing, I would probably withhold that info. I assume this question is maybe in regards to what that other person said earlier, how they don't want to sell to a trust. If you're concerned that the seller will be mad that you have an LLC elsewhere, then maybe just keep that information to yourself. Sometimes things are better left unsaid.
You just be quiet. Trevor, one of our members, thank you, my friend. Chris, is there some way he could vet this guy? Well, what I would have done, and I do with every deal, is I get them to record a memorandum of contract. So this way, I don't know if you saw that video, you don't even have to get an attorney. Once you record that memorandum, you know it's there on title. But then you would get your attorney after that. But at least you know you're good until you hire the attorney. So it's just nasty, man. Noah, Had a similar thing happen to me recently. Had my lawyer send a letter. That could be true. Just sending a letter telling me you're suing them. Oh shoot! Sorry about that, y'all. My camera. Telling them you were suing them, then had a meeting with the seller to settle. You could just have your attorney send them a letter, Luke. That does work sometimes.
Yeah, and that
It gets
was
them
our
on file though.
yeah,
Yeah.
our first action, guys, is when the lawyer gets back, he's going to write a detailed letter on why we have rights to the property and everything, whatever nasty lawyer terms he wants to use. And then we are going to have him served because I did notice that one of the mailboxes here was overflowing with mail. Like literally the door was just wide open when we drove
Came
by.
in checking the mail.
Yeah. Basically, I went to go get my mail because there's two mailboxes, and the one was so full of mail that the door was actually open on it. And I just like glanced at it, and it's just plumb full. So this guy's got to have a letter, but he's got to be hand served. That way we know he got it.
Yeah.
But we are going to do that.
Well, Luke, thank you so much for sharing Roundup when a seller goes insane.
It's wild, man. This guy's just, I don't know. I like what Noah just said. It worked out, and I got the house. That's all I want. We just want this place. We love it. We want to make it better. We care about Joe, even if Joe is mean sometimes. Whatever.
All right, Luke. Well, I'd like to stay in touch with you to find out how this story ends up, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we could do a follow up.
I'd love to, man, because I think people, unfortunately, I think this is going to happen. I remember this happened to me earlier in my career. That's when I knew that, when I found out that people don't do what they say they're going to do. And I searched high and low to find out this memorandum thing, because when you get the memorandum, you can record it against the property as soon as you get the contract signed. But unfortunately, Roundup, when you're out there doing business and we are acting in the highest level of integrity, not everybody will do what you do. And Luke appears to be acting with high integrity, and unfortunately, he's dealing with somebody that does not. And they could be sick. I mean, you think it's a little bit of mixture of both, Luke?
I mean, as much as I want to say that could be, when I talked to him over 2 years, never once did he act or flip a switch like that. Only until guys, he got the money. And you know what they say is that's kind of sometimes when you find out about someone and how they really are is when business gets involved. That's why they say don't do business with friends, because some people do business way different than they do socializing. And this guy's one of those guys. He's a scammer.
That's crazy. All right, Roundup. Make sure you're getting signed up for the YouTube and Internet Marketing Workshop. It will be this weekend. That link is in the video description. Luke has graced us with his presence. Man, that was a good training there, Luke. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And everybody that's watching everything, thanks for tuning in and listening, and thanks for your input. And it was just a joy to share all this with you guys, and hopefully it helps somebody out there from falling into this situation, or just to be on guard that make sure you got everything signed and dotted.
What would you do differently? I gotta know, Luke, if you could rewind time, what one thing would you do differently regarding how you would have handled this seller?
Honestly, what I think I would have done is
held the money. I'm thinking you could have held the money.
I think I would have maybe held the money back or held it in escrow, or instead of completely remodeling the property and moving in, even though I had rights to early occupancy, I think I would have done all the tear out, but not followed through with the remodeling until we actually closed.
Yeah.
Basically, get rid of the mold, get rid of the carpet. That's actually was my uncle's advice. Yeah, my uncle's advice. He's just like, if this guy's gonna screw you like this, he said, just demo the whole thing and then just leave it, because it's already bad and needs to be demoed, and just leave it. And then when you close, then you can do your remodeling.
That's what I would have done. Yeah. But look, you 28. How long you been in the game?
I bought my first house when I was 19.
Good
and I moved out of my parents' house when I was about 17.
Man, that's the whole story right there by itself.
Yeah, it is.
We had to say that for another show. But I'm like, you're 28, you're buying houses. you thought the man was going to do what he said he was going to do, and this is your first time. Let me ask you: is this your first time dealing with a situation like this, where your seller didn't do what they said they were going to do?
Not only is it my first time, especially with a situation as crazy as this and someone actually signing and then saying they won't do it. Again, every realtor and even my uncle who had over 700 units at one time, he's never had a seller try and back out ever. Not like
Shit.
this, anyways.
Yeah, well, I don't think like that, but I had them man back out all the time. I'm just thinking, hold the money back at escrow. You could have obviously could have, would have, should have, but this is. I hope that you're just taking this as a learning lesson. Really, I mean, you don't seem to be mad at it.
No, I'm not. I'm not mad because, like I said, when I watched your video and we can actually take him to court and we have all the legal rights to do so. And I spoke to two different lawyers, and basically what they said is, as everybody in the comments and yourselves kind of like, yeah, this guy's a scammer or he's crazy, whatever. But basically, when I talked to a lawyer off the record, he said, well, I did actually talk to the conflicted party. And since he wasn't representing both of us, he said, I don't have any reason to withhold information that I heard from him. And he just said, the guy literally told us flat out he signed a legal purchase contract, took the money, and now wants to back out. So the lawyer just said, I was trying to be nice to the guy, but he said in lawyer terms, this guy doesn't have a leg to even stand on. That's what he told me over the phone. So when I heard that, I saw your video. I feel pretty good about it. And all I really want at the end of the day is the property. And, the money, like you said, I don't really care about the money because either way, whether I spend it now or at closing, it's fine as long as we get the property. And I guess my big question to you, Chris, or anyone else on here is, have you ever had a situation like this where you did sue for the property and got the property?
Well, this is my first time actually to having to sue a seller to sell me the house. Usually, I just walk away.
Sure.
I'm like, you know what, man? I don't want that negative energy. I don't have time for this.
Right.
But like with your situation, I would definitely dig my heels in. And for the situation I was in, where I was negotiated just tens of thousands of dollars in child support, I feel like people use people like you and me, Luke. They let us go out here and work our magic, renovating houses, calling contractors in, making stuff, and then they want to piggyback on it without putting in the time and effort and sacrifice of money. I see this a lot. So this is not my first rodeo, but I have not had to sue. That's why I always get the memorandum, so I don't have to sue. I just record that. That way they can't sell it to anybody else, and they usually come around after that.
For sure. So in a sense, though, you've had people where let's translate the memorandum as Tom was suing. So I don't have the memorandum, so I'm going to sue. Obviously, the contract's legal from the lawyer's head.
Mm-hmm.
But with the memorandum, eventually, no, you didn't sue, but you have a tie to the property. But eventually on those memorandums, did they pretty much all come back around and say, hey, we're going to sell it? Because they can't sell it to anyone but you then, correct?
Yeah, they all came around, yep. Either they sold me the house or they paid me to release it. Pay me, huh?
Oh, go ahead.
I had a lady pay me $7,500 just to release the contract for me not to buy it.
Wow. Yeah, so that works out good too then. So then it's not a waste of your time. So that memorandum that's really good stuff then.
Oh, it's powerful. Look, I mean, wait, you see these burn marks on my face and my hair? That's not from that's from war. War. I never forget the first time I was in Colorado. The first time guy was like, nah, I'm not going to sell you the house. I'm like, you know what? I'm just a sucker because he can do that. He can do that. But when I learned that memorandum and I learned that Liz pendants, I'm like, you know what? I'm so freaking done, man. You're doing the right thing, Luke.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get out of here, Luke. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel, like the content. Anybody want to get in touch with Luke? How do they get in touch with you, brother Luke?
You guys can just look me up on Facebook, Luke Deutschlander. If they're on YouTube, I'm not on YouTube a ton just because I'm kind of real busy offline with stuff. Got a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be.
You saying I'm not busy, Luke? Is that what you're saying?
No, I know you're a busy guy, man. I know you're busy. On YouTube, you can find me at just YouTube Six Figure Flipper if you want to learn about flipping smartphones and electronics, or make some money as a side or full-time hustle. So
yeah, let's do it. Oh, who's that? Rita. Hey, one of my members. Rita, we got to get you up. I got you. We're going to reach out to you either tonight or tomorrow. Sorry about that. All right, Luke, I'll see you soon. Round up, subscribe, like, share this content with anybody else that's dealing with a seller that will maybe back out of their deals. Happens every day.
Thanks a
Peace,
lot,
y'all.
guys.
All right.